What's up everyone, welcome back to Switchcraft. It's a great day to be a gamer. You may or may not know this about me, but I've never worked for GameStop, or EB Games, or Best Buy, or anything like that. When I started my channel, I called myself the People's Gaming Voice because I've never worked in the industry and I want people to see me as one of their own, giving my perspective on video games. Today, I'm going to be sharing my first impressions of Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate for the Switch, and if something doesn't change, this game is going to end up being my least favorite game on the system. Let's talk about it. Monster Hunter by Capcom is a series that's seen releases on Nintendo handhelds, the PS4, the PSP, the Xbox, and the PC. But this is its debut on the Switch, and I was hoping it would come dressed to impress. I'm in the minority here, but this is actually my first Monster Hunter game I've ever played. It's basically a fantasy RPG that's huge in Japan, so we have something in common. It revolves around embracing the role of hunter, searching up materials and slaying monsters to forge new weapons and armor and to fight stronger monsters and progress. It really sounded like something that I'd be able to dive into and spend countless hours on progressing and getting better and stronger. I'm about 8 hours into the game, and it seems like it was designed to suck the fun right out of that process. Two things I noticed right off the bat that sucked were the controls and the never-ending tutorials. Which one should I talk about first? Let's do the controls. These are some of the most imprecise and sloppy controls I can remember from the last 2 generations of consoles. Skyrim controls were better, and that game's been out for almost a decade. First of all, just moving around in the overworld is like molasses in January. You can walk or run, and walking is more like crawling. It's so slow. Don't walk, run. The only problem with running, especially in any kind of quest, is that it uses your stamina. Run for too long and you're out of breath and you gotta go even slower. I can see how this is important when you're in the middle of a battle and stamina becomes a resource to manage, but for the rest of the game, it's an unnecessary pain in the ass, and those are almost never good. I hope this guy can get a little fitter as the game goes on, because right now he needs to spend some serious time on the treadmill. The sloppiness doesn't end though. Try actually fighting a monster in the wild and you're in for more disappointment. Hitboxes are imprecise and attack animations are way too long, to the point where it almost feels like you're lagging. That's just against the little beasts I've run across in the first 8 hours. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like later on. What about tutorials? You know how in Breath of the Wild there were almost no tutorials and instead the developers relied on good game design to make the mechanics intuitive? Yeah, this is like the opposite of that. This game's tutorials are Xenoblade Chronicles 2-like, in that they never end. But at least Xenoblade made them like much less in your face, and they made them seamless and useful. I get Monster Hunter has a lot of mechanics to go over, but the presentation is so poor. You got these game-interrupting text boxes brought to you by this annoying and not funny red blob that you have to manually scroll through. And that reminds me actually, all menu navigation can only be done with the right analog stick, and that's the same side as your button selections. It's unnecessarily cumbersome having to move and select with the same thumb. It's not huge, but it just adds to the feel of like you're walking through mud for a big chunk of the early game. And that brings me to the theme of my first impressions. Sloppy, sluggish, from the controls to the tutorials to the hit detection to the animation to the camera control in the overworld especially, this game is like archery while inebriated. I can see it scaring off most but the most hardcore of Monster Hunter fans. Does it do anything right? Well, yes it does. I haven't noticed any frame drops, even though I've played primarily in handheld mode. The graphics and the port job are both very well done. The landscapes are beautiful, colorful, and they pop. Different areas of the map are easily distinguishable, and even though it has nothing to do with anything, the loading screen artwork is amazing. Even if it does seem a little bit out of place, that stuff deserves an indie game of its own. I'll admit, this is a very quick look at what's sure to be a very long game. I'm sure I'll get used to the controls and the battling, and hopefully I'm done with tutorials, but I think Capcom missed on an opportunity to capitalize on a game made for that addictive sense of progression that you can get in games. Before all the Monster Hunter diehards boycott the channel, they should know. I am going to give this game a fair shot and finish it before I make any final judgments, so chill. I guess just coming off of a game like Octopath Traveler. And seeing an RPG done so right, I had high expectations. Listen, I know they're completely different, but before Octopath, I marathoned through Ys 8. And if Monster Hunter is possibly the most sluggish game on the Switch, then Ys 8 might be the most underrated. But that's a different video. What do you think of Monster Hunter Generations for the Switch? Or the pre-port version? What about different versions on other consoles? Let me know in the comments below and if you would recommend a better version of this game. It's a great day to be a gamer. Switchcraft out.